Welcome back to This Day Live, the Sunday talk show. Ambassador Segun Akinsanya is our guest on the foreign issues that I've tried to introduce. Ambassador Akinsanya, it's good to see you again on This Day Live, the Sunday talk show. Thank you for joining us.
Well, thank you very much, Ruben. I'm delighted to be here after a while.
Anyway, thank you very much. Well, Ambassador Akinsanya, let's start. They say charity begins at home. Let's start with Niger. In Niger, General Chiani has now used a charter to call himself president, to call himself general, to say that he's going to be in power for the next 5 years. There are a lot of things will develop on the security situation in Niger. Now, isn't this familiar? Isn't this what we had in the past in Nigeria? And what does it say about the democratic process in West Africa?
Well, thank you, Ruben. The case of Niger, particularly with the new leader, Abdurrahmani Tianid, who incidentally was one of the guards of President Bazoum. So one can rightly say that it was a palace coup that brought him in the year 2023. And so as we have seen, it's part of the whole issue of the military coming back into politics in Africa, particularly West Africa. What we have seen in the last few days about the inauguration and transforming into a president, and with the elongation and also centralizing his role in Niger, banning all civil liberties, and also with President Bazoum still in incarceration, and he has given a period of 5 years in the first instance to be president. So it's a déjà vu in Africa. Shortly, immediately, some military leaders come in. They want to legitimize themselves, and at the same time, they want to have a sort of an acceptance, banning political activities, banning civil. So, and he said, well, he calls it a flexible arrangement. Flexible arrangement, 5 minutes. I won't be surprised if in the next few months we find Abdurrahman Tijani coming in Babariga. This is the tempo of the way some military leaders behave in Africa. As I said, they want to legitimize themselves. They want to perpetuate their stay. And at the time that we're looking at democracy in Africa, that there are challenges. There are challenges of economic development. There are challenges of insecurity, particularly in that part, fighting the jihadists. In fact, that was the reason d'etre of his coming in. And I'm sure that Nigeria has not been able to surmount the problems of insecurity. So it's an anomaly in the political developments in Africa. And we know that particularly now that the relationship with ECOWAS is strained, and within the AU concept, the issue of zero tolerance to unconstitutional change of government is something that is a hard nut to crack in Africa. So I'm sure that the development has attracted a lot of international criticisms. And what is interesting for me is that he now calls himself president. Well, we had a similar thing in Nigeria years back with President Babangida, you know. But I think it's an anomaly, it's an anathema in the terms of African politics. And I think that a country like Nigeria continue to play the role that it's playing in ECOWAS, in Africa, that ensuring that there's this zero tolerance to unconstitutional change of government, and worse still, perpetuating themselves in power. This is what Abdurrahman Tijan is trying to do. And the fact that President Bazoum is still in exile. So we will watch out what is going to happen. In fact, I just heard recently that Niger pulled out of the multinational force, and with all these problems that are in the northern, in Chad, in the neighboring areas. So it should be of interest in Nigeria because they have not been able to meet the challenges of economic development. And recently, I mean, it was in the news that we really have to bail Niger out. So to what extent is it good? Is it something that is good for the country itself? But since he has already shutting up all the sanctions, the civil society, the political parties, well, whether you'll be able to get away with this, it remains to be seen. But it also conduces with what happens in other four neighboring states. In Guinea, we have the military, in Burkina Faso, in Mali, and now Niger. The only thing is that Guinea has not opted out of the ECOWAS. But we hope that with the recent visit of the military personnel to Nigeria and the efforts that are being made by the ECOWAS, we hope there will be a change of attitude as time goes on. But it's a significant political development in Niger.
Okay, but do you think that there is sure grounds for the hope that the countries that left ECOWAS will come back, including Niger, Mali, Burkina Faso, and Guinea? Oh, well, Guinea never left. So is there any hope that they will come back? Despite ECOWAS authority of heads of state saying, look, you are welcome at any time.
Well, they have given them some leeway, the opportunities for a change of mind. You know that ECOWAS, the authority of head of states, extended the period to give them some of the possibilities for a rethink, and the hope that things might change, or that the developments in that base will necessitate the right perspectives in terms of the democratic governance. But it's still very daisy, particularly with this new development that is going to be there for 5 years. I mean, how do you effect any change? How does he accept any democratic or dissensions? I mean, there are a lot of literate people, there are a lot of educated people, there are students, there are trade unions, but now that all these people, they have been shut up, the possibility that they might effect any changes in the position of this military junta is very remote. And having said that, I mean, I don't think Nigeria and other countries are going to renege in their efforts of trying to get them in, but the onus is on them to be able to change. But honestly, I don't see any any signs in the hand of President Abdurrahman Tijan, coming up with this stance of being a president for the next 5 years. And who knows, after the 5 years, there might be an elongation to force that legitimacy and acceptance. For me, it's a forced legitimacy. And I don't think there will be urge for them to come to in the nearest future.
Yeah, because...
Of course, the challenges that will make that happen will be the challenges within the country, the issue of insecurity, and then, of course, the economic situation. Because it's a landlocked country, and they depend on the countries like Niger, like Nigeria and Benin. So I don't see them the will to come back. But of course, I think the pressures, peer pressure by others might urge them to come back. And I'm sure that you have a welcoming mat in the ECOWAS.
Well, legitimacy in the recent should come from the people. But let's talk about Myanmar. 1,700 persons dead in Myanmar, 3,400 displaced, 18 dead in Bangkok, Thailand, due to earthquake, 7.7, ranging from 7.7 to 6.4 to 5.5, leaving death in the air, the smell of death. Some of the other countries, the UK, for example, has asked its citizens to stay away from Myanmar, Thailand, and parts of China and parts of India. The Nigerian government, I have not seen whether the Nigerian government has advised Nigerians to stay away from those countries where we have this earthquake. We're told it's a natural thing along the Sangang fault line between the Indian plate and the Burma microplate. But what do you think? What you would advise the Ministry of Foreign Affairs to do in this circumstance?
Well, Ruben, I'm hearing you, it's breaking, the line is breaking.
Okay.
Can you repeat the question?
No,
please?
okay. I was basically talking about the tragedy, the earthquake in Myanmar, Thailand, stretching all the way also to, India and the western part of China, and the fact that it's a big tragedy. The U.S. survey, geological survey, is even saying, look, up to 10,000 people could die at the end of the day. For you to comment on the tragedy and to advise the Nigerian authorities, now that other countries are saying their citizens should stay away from that region.
Well, the reports that is coming from Myanmar and, of course, the neighboring country, also Thailand, reflect this devastating earthquake. But I'm sure that other geographers or geologists would advise in terms of the seismic nature of that area, these are areas of crustal instability, that there are constant changes. And you have also some parts of Africa, the Cameroon, and other, where you have these shakes in the cloud. But what has happened in the last few days in Myanmar is quite devastating. It talks about 7.7 statistical. The magnitude. It must be very enormous. And the timing also of this happening during the Ramadan, most of there are quite a lot of, apart from Buddhists and others, there are Muslims in Myanmar, former Burma. And it's also a country of political instability. We are here of the historical past about the military junta struggle with Aung San Suu Kyi and others. So all this must be seen in that context of here is a country that is politically unstable, that has a lot of problems of governance, and this has happened as a natural occurrence with over 1.7 million people that the search and rescue operations are still ongoing, and indications that there are still going to be more. They have been called for international humanitarian assistance, and countries like China, South Korea, India, Russia have responded, as some EU countries. And the United Nations itself has pledged, I think, about $5 million US of assistance. So because of the nature of the country, and there are indications that it's not going to go away so soon. Well, I mean, they have asked for the international assistance, and I hope that the Nigerian government will respond in a way, because there have been antecedents about the relationship between Nigeria and Burma during the world wars, and many people believe there are many Nigerians were sent to Burma, and they cut their teeth in the military, the life in Burma. So there are some connections. So I believe that it should not be out of place in our own way for a response since the military junta in Burma, in Myanmar, has already called for international assistance. I think we should do that. But the lesson to be learned is that our experts, there have been reported cases of some art movements in Nigeria, maybe in a minute way, but our geologists, our geographers would do well to advise governments to ward off this. But since it's a natural occurrence, as I said, it occurs, earthquakes, tremors, and others. It occurs in areas of coastal instability, and where you have some, mountainous areas, and the just plateau area, so there are quite a lot of areas that are susceptible to such occurrences. But what is important is for us to plan ahead the rapid rescue operations, or the rapid, to ward off such thing. And if it occurs, the response has to be rapid.
Okay, Ambassador.
But one of the things that also I read that was responsible for what happened in Myanmar, it's unauthorized buildings. They don't give enough approvals before some buildings. We've had our own experience of some building collapse in areas where some people probably didn't get the necessary approvals before they put up buildings, or where they are supposed to have just one-story building, they convert it to about 7 or 8. So all these cause a lot of problem. But what is important is that our professionals, our experts, must think ahead, and particularly the response. It's what is important for our country.
Okay.
The rapid
Ambassador,
international assistance. One of the problems of Myanmar and is that they are short of the expertise to be able to meet the immediate needs. So I think these are some of the lessons that we should, if I'm going to give any advice, is this sort of advice that we must plan ahead in terms of NEMA and some other agencies that are involved. We should plan ahead and get the expertise required for immediate and rapid responses.
Okay, Ambassador Akinsanya, very quickly, as we begin to wrap up this segment of the program, how devastating is the impact of President Trump's administration deciding to pause financial contributions to the WTO, the World Trade Organization.
Well, I also heard that some few days ago, precisely by 28th of March, President Trump came out in terms of the suspension of the funding to WTO. But that should not be a surprise because it's the climax of years or long period of his confrontational attitudes and constant call for reforms of the WTO. During his first time out, 2021 to 2018 to 2021, President Trump was constantly asking for reforms of the WTO. Based on this perception that the trade practices or the WTO is pro-China, it's against some of the practices to ensure fair, equitable, rule-based multilateral trading system. This has been on, but with his coming, and of course we all know that during the campaign for elections, President Trump was very vocal on the tariffs increases and pursuing new dimensions of reciprocal trade. Trump has never wavered in his postures of being a unilateralist. And for him, it's America, America first. And that comes into play in the sort of trade wars and some of these stands that we are seeing that is coming out, changing NAFTA to US, Mexico, and Canada. And the last few months of his being in the administration is characterized by is believed in bilateral exertions as against multilateral. So what we are seeing is the culmination of all this pent up or his belief that if he's not able to reform WTO, to bring in judges to change some of the perceptions. So what he will do, just like he did for the WHO and USAID, and of course, opting out of the Paris Accord process, is now to suspend the funding to WTO.
Okay.
That itself, for me, is confrontational. It's just right. I I also read that by the 2nd of April, he's going to pursue more rigorously, more
tariffs,
bilateral, reciprocal tariff exertions that, yes, I forced them by 20%, 25% tariff, and, that he prefers that to a multilateral arrangement.
On that note, yes,
and that itself is not good for multilateral trading patterns.
On that note, Ambassador,
how it will affect us, yeah.
Well, just complete the sentence. I was going to wrap up the conversation.
Okay. Now, I think, the EU, some other organizations, the other countries, what it prefers is more bilateral and reciprocal. How it will affect us in Nigeria is in terms of our trading partners. You know, I don't think it will affect us directly, but indirectly. But for me, what is important is for us is to put our house in order.
On that note, Ambassador, on that note, I would like to thank you very much.
That we should put our house in order. Yes.
Okay. Yeah, thank you very much for joining us on This Day Live, this Sunday Talk Show.